Hello, hi, I'm Buddy Hellman with Tri-State Supply, and we have Jim Ralston with Softing on the call. Today is going to be our webinar for tManager and some other softing products that Jim's going to go over that relate to networking. So as we go through this, please send any questions through the chat, and we'll try to answer those as we go along. And then at the end, we'll open it up for some other questions and comments. So I think everyone's connected right now. So I'll hand it over to Jim so he can go over the product offering for softing. Okay, Jim.
Hey, yeah, thank you, Buddy. So I'm Jim Ralston, Director of Channel Sales for Softing. Thanks for attending this afternoon and appreciate Tri-State's support with the webinar today. Today's session, I'm focusing on a major application that many of our customers are involved with, and that's has to do with connecting PLC machine data to applications like MES, dashboards, cloud apps, and I'm going to present a way that you could do it in minutes because no custom coding is required. So today's topics I will cover the value of the plant floor data as a means to support applications for helping to optimize your plants, dashboards, OEE analytics, MES, recipe applications, the challenges of creating these IoT projects, especially because they often involve the cooperation of the OT group and the IT group, and then talk directly, specifically about one of our solutions, which is our tManager appliance, which does direct communication to SQL database servers and also more modernly cloud applications via MQTT protocol. And then I have a short 3-minute video to show, which is actually a live demonstration of how tManager works. Hopefully be able to press all the proper Zoom buttons to make that work, and talk a little bit about our resources and some of the history of the tManager, and then at the end address any questions that you may have. And please feel free to type them via chat, and Buddy will take care of that, presenting them to me at the end. So the value of plant floor data. So you all have PLCs at your facility or your customer's facility. They are the brains of the machines that operate many different types of manufacturing businesses and process systems, and they all contain data, right? And that information can be very valuable as a way to feed applications such as dashboards, which is a way to visualize information both production-wise and maybe as a way to manage and resources in a facility, give visibility to the management, the senior management team there at the plant, and that information can also be used for analytics for OEE and artificial intelligence, machine learning, lots of value to that information just at that level. And then also as a way to integrate into MES systems, which could be used for recipe management, track and trace systems. So lots of different ways to use information, and it's much more than a fad or a hyped marketing message. There really is a lot of value to data. The challenge is often what's the best way, what's the most economic and the most streamlined way to extract that data from the machines as a means to support these applications. And one of the challenges in implementing this system when you look at a business is, there's different groups involved with this, right? You have the IT group that has their principal, their principal responsibility of maintaining security and making sure that users have access to information, and that all the connected devices are meeting the current security policies and Windows versions, etc. And then you have the OT group, which is a combination of the automation engineers, control engineers, the operational team, right? Operations, and they may have a little slightly different challenges and responsibilities. So, for IT, they're looking for a graceful way to integrate information to support the applications with the existing infrastructure they have. And that could be database servers or maybe cloud services that they've subscribed to. They also want to utilize the existing network and security infrastructure, which is very important to meet their goals. Have integrity and reliability of the data collected so that it could be shared and processed appropriately and consistently. Meet the encryption and security standards, which is important for their security policy, and then ideally minimize or eliminate the number of computer platforms that they have to maintain, both the hardware and the operating system. The OT requirements, the plant floor folks, the operations people, they're looking to make sure that they don't add risk to production, right? Their bottom line, maybe your bottom line, is making sure that production runs around the clock and there's no hiccups, because a stoppage in production equates to a big cost impact on the company. So no added risk to production. Prefer not to make major changes or any changes if possible to the systems that are in and running now, both the PLCs or the DCS in a process environment. Don't want to add any additional network traffic that may cause degradation of the Ethernet communications to the plant floor devices. Don't want to lose data, right? So there may be information that's very important to collect for regulatory purposes, like the FDA or the EPA, or maybe very important information used for track and trace on a product run that their customer may require. So loss of that data could actually make them throw out the product or run production again. Again, that could be very costly. They also look for a system that's very easy to modify without having to know a lot of custom coding or have to figure out coding that was done in the past. So adds and changes, having a graceful, easy way to do that is preferred. There's also, with many of our customers, an interest in being able to monitor the transaction status so that if there's a connection to a database used for recipe management, for example, want to know very quickly from the PLC side that maybe there's a problem reaching that database, or maybe they need to confirm that a transaction has been successful. So looking for that feedback of from an OT/IT or an IoT system to ensure that the connection is valid. And then one thing that is shared usually between both of the groups is a desire not to add computers and to eliminate the need as much as possible for having another computer platform and another operating system that has to be maintained, like via Windows updates. So one of the solutions we offer, which is very popular, with our Rockwell customers, is our tManager platform. So tManager is an appliance. It's a hardware device that fits into the PLC chassis, and it is a direct connection from that PLC to whatever the database or cloud service is that supports these applications. So it's a hardware approach that eliminates having to have any computer in the middle. There's no operating system to maintain. There's no Windows updates to be concerned about. There's no OPC server. There's no OPC setup required. It's a very simple direct connection from the PLC platform to things like Microsoft SQL Server Database or Oracle, or more modernly or recently cloud services like AWS IoT Core or Microsoft Azure IoT Hub. And these are a means and a method with tManager to just make it very direct, very specific application purpose built to get the information flowing bidirectionally. And this is a way to support mobile dashboards, OEE analytics, artificial intelligence systems, and then databases that could be the background for SAP, for ERP, or MES layers for like track and trace recipe management. So a lot of the traditional approaches of doing these types of projects involve lots of code development, custom code development that can be complex and sometimes difficult to maintain over the years as personnel changes. Just adds a lot of complexity. I know in my experience over the last 10-ish years is a lot of our customers use VB scripting in HMIs and looking for a way to get away from that. Also, more modernly, a lot of the IT level solutions for doing IoT applications to cloud services involve a lot of code development as well. So this can be time consuming, expensive if you have to hire someone, doesn't add a lot of value because the main focus of it is to get the data, right? Not process the data, but get it. So what we offer with tManager is a very streamlined way that you can use our tManager software, which comes bundled with the appliance, to quickly browse the tags that are available, the information that's available in all the PLCs, visually see the endpoints, which could be database tables, it could be the schema used in the cloud service, and then simply drag and drop to build a map of where the information is going to flow, either from the PLC to the data depository that could be database or cloud service, or in the other direction, right? So very easy, and this approach again does not require a computer in the middle. It doesn't require an operating system. It doesn't require OPC. Very easy to implement. And because of that, we say it takes minutes to set it up, because it literally does. A little bit of technical background on what tManager supports first from a SQL database perspective. So in SQL, and this could be Microsoft SQL, Oracle, MySQL, IBM DB2, there's a number of SQL functions that do specific things with the data. And I'm just listing here the ones that tManager supports, and because these are the core capabilities of what tManager does. So the first is inserts, which is writing information to a database table, and that would be a means to do data collection. So for production, quality information, or to serve visual dashboards like Power BI is very popular, for example, with Microsoft. Updates is a way to update a specific row in a table, and tManager can support that. Selects is a method, a function of being able to pull data from a database table, and it's often used for things like recipe management, track and trace. So the select is actually being able to read information. And then many database administrators and IT groups and we find this especially at larger companies, but it doesn't have to be, often use stored procedures on the database side. So a stored procedure is actually a macro code that's been developed that does data processing on the database side, and it can have inputs and outputs. So tManager has a method of accessing, visualizing those stored procedures that have been created, and providing the inputs and the outputs via PLC tags to support that stored procedure. And we run into it a lot with our customers because often that's their preferred way to do it for security, or they need to do some data manipulation, join multiple tables together and things. And they're very proficient at doing that on the IT database side. So the tManager, when used with SQL databases, this is the functionality that's built in. You don't have to know how to write the code to do any of this. tManager automatically does that. But those are the functions that we support. And I would also make the point too that we also see more and more customers that while they're using Microsoft SQL Server, they may be actually hosting it up in the cloud like Microsoft Azure. So from the perspective of the tManager, it doesn't really know or care where the database is. It could be on premise at the local plant. It could be at the headquarters, 1,000 miles away, or it could actually be hosted in the cloud. All the functionality is the same, regardless of that. And that's the store and forward function in particular is a very good feature to have when going over a wide area network or going up to the cloud, because we can actually ensure that no data is lost, even if the database is not local. So let's contrast that with the cloud architecture and specifically cloud IoT, right? So Microsoft Azure, they offer their IoT hub services. AWS, part of Amazon, offers IoT Core. So these are subscription IoT services which provide a way, a means to get information to and from the cloud service to support all kinds of different applications. So if you look at AWS, for example, and browse through all the applications they have, it's a whole myriad of them. So one of the biggest differences between this approach and the database is that instead of being a database client like we would be with SQL, in this case, we're utilizing the MQTT protocol because that's the protocol that's been chosen for IoT by the cloud services. And it offers a very thin, reliable, secure way to send data back and forth. Publish is a MQTT function where we can publish information up to the MQTT broker to a specific topic. And this information then can be read or subscribed to by dashboard applications, analytic tools, right? And as you can see, the central point here is the MQTT broker, which is kind of synonymous with a server function, right? AWS and Microsoft Azure, they both utilize an MQTT broker that's part of their service. We have also had customers, though, that have used MQTT brokers that are independent of cloud service. They're actually on premise as well, because there's some good, performance advantages to MQTT when sending lots of data back and forth or remotely over cellular networks like we've had some water districts do. So it doesn't have to be a cloud service. It could just be MQTT broker that's feeding a historian or other data processing device. To the tManager, we support it all. And I went over what a publish is, We also support subscribe. So you could set up a transaction to subscribe to a specific topic. And that could be, for example, recipe information that's being fed to that cloud service. Okay, so one of the key differences with tManager for MQTT cloud applications is that it is fully bi-directional. You not only can publish, but you can also subscribe. So you could support MES applications, for example, that may be hosted in the cloud, using that those two approaches. All right. So one of the other interesting things about the cloud connectivity, and some of this applies to SQL as well, is tManager, because we are the client. We need to support the credentials and the security that the cloud service requires or the database server. So tManager, through our configuration software that's bundled in, includes complete credential authorization capability, and that's stored securely encrypted on the module as a means to keep it secret and secure. So tManager supports that, both authentication, information, credentials, and also certificates, which a lot of cloud services require. As I previously mentioned, tManager supports both publish and subscribe, so it is bi-directional. And one of the differences, another difference between the approach of using tManager with a cloud service versus a SQL application is, with SQL, there's already a table in place, or there should be. There's already a data table, or there's already a stored procedure. With a cloud service, it's much more free form. Essentially, you send the data up formatted the way you need it to be, and then you can feed that in at the cloud level to those other applications. And that's often done using JSON, which is a Java scripting standard. So one of the interesting things about tManager, and when I play the video, which hopefully it will play, we can automatically create the JSON data structure from the PLC data, especially a UDT, if the data is formatted that way. So that saves a lot of time. You don't have to write any JSON data structure scripts, and because tManager automatically creates them, and then you can utilize them in when you're creating the project, the transaction, the tManager, and also as a function up into the cloud, where that structure can be helped to use with the applications. And then finally, both for SQL and for MQTT, tManager has that store and forward buffering built in, which is, again, a very nice feature to have when collecting critical data, just in case there's a disconnection to the server, a disconnection on the network. tManager has 7 gigabytes of onboard memory. You can allocate a portion of that to store and forward, just to ensure that no data is ever lost. And to duplicate that or replicate that in a PLC software application, there's a lot of custom coding needed on the PLC to set up arrays and have it do like first in, first out buffering. None of that is needed with tManager because store and forward's built in. Okay, so one of the things I wanted to mention is, I haven't told you much about Softing. We're, a long-time Rockwell technology partner, and we are also a Amazon AWS site-wise partner. So, Amazon recognizes our technology, AWS does, as fully, meeting all their requirements, and we're actually listed on their website as a partner. We've also done quite a bit of work with Azure. I'm not sure if Microsoft officially recognizes us, but we certainly support Azure as well. All right, so at this point, I'm going to hopefully be able to run a video. We'll see how that goes, which is just a short 3-minute video showing how to connect tManager on a PLC, both to a SQL Server and also to IoT, AWS IoT site-wise. So let me see how that. I can make that happen. So bear with me for a minute. Okay. Right.
Let me know when you have the video running, Jim, and I'll verify that we can see it.
Yes, thank you. We were, for some reason, it worked seamlessly this morning, as we mentioned earlier. Not so seamlessly right now. So let me see.
I'm seeing a blue screen right now, Jim.
Okay.
Nope, connecting machine data.
Today,
Okay,
we're
I
going to
think
be
we're seeing it.
configuring a ControlLogix
Can you hear it?
tManager. We're going to be
Yes.
going across the backplane to a ControlLogix PLC, and then we're going to go out one of our Ethernet ports to SQL Server and our other Ethernet port to Amazon AWS. The first thing you want to do is connect to your controller. So you click Controller, define controllers. You can see the ControlLogix tManager goes across the backplane, and you can see my ControlLogix PLC there. The next thing you want to do is connect to Microsoft SQL Server. You'd input your credentials and enumerate the database, and then hit OK to save that adapter off. Once you've done those two things, you're ready to configure a transaction. Click Transaction, New Transaction. Today we're just going to do an insert. So I will pick my database. I need to select which table in the database I want to write to. Pick the work in process table. Say yes, we want to copy all the columns, and then we can simply drag in our PLC tags that match up with our SQL database columns. So as I'm pulling these in here, you can see it's quite simple. We also have the option to where you can add a timestamp from the tManager module if you wanted to. You can also add a constant as well. So I'll go ahead and input my name here. I can simply hit connect. Next, we need to define how often this transaction is going to take place. We do that with the trigger. We have a trigger configured to monitor our production counter. As it increments, we fire a transaction. Can hit OK to save that off. And then I need to start that transaction. You can see we're firing data now. Next, we're going to connect to Amazon AWS. You'd create an MQTT adapter, input your valid credentials, and the certificates used by AWS. We've already connected to the ControlLogix PLC. So we'll say new transaction. This time we're going to do an outbound transaction. We pick our application, in this case MQTT. Next, we need to go to our tags that we want to send to Amazon AWS. In this case, it's these wind turbine tags. Simply generate the JSON schema for that. Select that schema we just generated. Close that out. Shift highlight our tags. Drag those all in. Simply hit connect. This time we have a trigger that's firing every second, so we'll select that. Hit OK to save that off. Set that trigger to run. And now we're populating data into Amazon AWS as well. Here's the data that we are now populating into Amazon AWS. And this is being written to a dashboard that we'd configured to match our wind turbine data.
Okay, so
Today we're going to be configuring a control logic.
As you see, or as you saw, very quick and easy to support getting data, from the PLC to the database, from the PLC to a cloud service. That was Quentin Lowry presenting. He's our business development engineer, so he does a lot of our demos and support calls with customers. Very quick, easy. We also often demo how to extract data from the database or the cloud service for other applications, like recipe download, for example. So let me see if I can get back to my PowerPoint here. Okay. Very good. So you should be able to see the screen again. Just that.
Okay. Yeah, I have your screen back now, Jim.
Very good. Thank you, buddy. So some of the background, a little more background on tManager. The first version of the tManager we actually introduced 16 years ago. And the genesis of it was for critical track and trace applications for automotive lines. The cost of downtime is very high in automotive. So back then, they were nervous about using Windows platforms for anything that was production critical. So that was the genesis of the tManager. We have thousands and thousands of them installed worldwide. This is a short list of some of our bigger customers. But there's a lot more than that. And some applications are very simple: production quality control, data collection, and then more recently, being able to do real-time machine monitoring and OEE analysis, MES applications, track and trace, like I've mentioned a few times. And then we have a lot of customers too that use tManager as a way to integrate into their ERP system. So SAP would be an example of that. One common question we get is, do we connect directly or communicate directly with SAP? The answer is no, but we do communicate directly with the database that SAP utilizes. So there's always a database somewhere with SAP. For many customers, it's Oracle, but some have used Microsoft SQL. So we can communicate bidirectionally to those databases, so SAP can also have access for enterprise level optimization and resource planning. Just briefly, as far as other product lines that Softing offers, today we're featuring the tManager appliance for SQL and cloud. We also have a number of products that support the newer OPC UA standard for Rockwell connectivity. We have a number of products that do process connectivity, field bus connectivity with HART, Foundation application field bus and others. And we also, a couple years ago, acquired another Rockwell partner, longtime partner, Phoenix Digital. And Phoenix Digital's has a very well-engineered dual fiber, high availability Ethernet networking solution, and also even solutions for legacy systems like Data Highway and ControlNet all over dual fiber optic cabling. So that's our get connected side. We also have a stay connected product line, which is a number of diagnostic tools for Ethernet. So our Net Expert XG is an excellent tool for troubleshooting industrial Ethernet systems, both copper or fiber. We offer our Wire Expert 4500, which is a cable certifier for both copper and fiber. Our Fiber Experts popular as a full OTDR for troubleshooting fiber optic links. And we also still offer a Profibus tester because there's a lot of Profibus nodes still out there. So that's just a snapshot of what all we offer. And of course, Tri-State Electric is our local distributor for you guys. So at this point, why don't we open it up to the questions from the group? Buddy, can you help me with that?
Yes. The first question that came in was from John Langhorn. Can this connect to Cytex XL Reporter?
So we don't. Yeah, so we don't communicate directly to their reporting tool, but their reporting tool is like another, application basically. So we could definitely support, getting information into a SQL database, and then you can use any reporting tool. And I think they have support for SQL and other database types. So.
Okay. And then I answered this one. He is asking whether or not there was a ControlLogix version, and there is. That was their first version that was released.
Yeah. Well, we have a number of ways to support ControlLogix applications. Unfortunately, like many other companies, we're kind of hit with some of the chip shortage issues right now. So some of our platforms are a little more readily available than others, but we do have solutions both for CompactLogix and ControlLogix. And for the CompactLogix, a common question comes up if we support the 5380 and which is the 5069 bus. And yes, the answer is we can. We have a solution for that as well.
Okay. What OS does tManager run on?
The operating system, was that the question?
Yes, I guess if there's an operating system, and is there an operating system that needs to be in there? Or?
Yeah. So we are not. tManager is not an open platform. It's not a computer. We don't position that as an appliance. So it does have an underlying operating system because, it has to have something. But we don't publish or divulge what that is. It's really fully locked down. So that's our answer, unfortunately. Okay. You never have to worry about Windows updates or any kind of security. I've been with the company 8 years. We've in the 8 years I've been with Softing, we have not released a firmware update that was due to a security glitch or some kind of operating system issue.
So I guess that might center around, having to load software on a computer, and you don't do that. That's all done through the module.
Yeah, so that's a good segue into our the tManager configuration software that you saw Quentin demo in the video. The software comes bundled with the tManager. It does run on a Windows 10 platform or Windows 7, but it is only used for that initial connectivity to or that initial configuration of the tManager. So after the tManager tManager is configured, you disconnect the computer, all the configuration resides in the module, and you can run your projects. Now, the tManager software does have some nice diagnostics and things that you can bring up, but there's other ways you can access that too. You don't have to have a computer for that. Also, pricing wise, I'm not sure if anyone asked about the pricing. One of the things that sets us apart from most of the software solutions out there is that with tManager, it's just a one-time upfront purchase. It supports unlimited tags, so you never have to worry about hitting or being limited to certain threshold of data, and there's no annual support fees or subscription costs with our tManager. Now, if you're using AWS, you may have some subscription costs with them. We don't get a piece of that. We're agnostic as far as what cloud partner you use. We don't sell or resell the cloud services. We just make sure that we work in a very reliable way with those services.
Okay. Another question is, in addition to credentials, can you connect to a broker that has a TLS certified or TLS certificate installed?
So this may get a little, I'll tell you what I know, and then if there's further questions, we might want to pull Quentin or one of our engineers in the line.
Okay.
So when tManager connects to SQL Server, when it connects to a cloud service, it's using TLS. We support TLS version 1.2, which are the most modern. And so all of the communications is inherently encrypted. With SQL Server, we are not a Windows device. So, tManager is not a person, it's a device. So in the SQL Server application or configuration, it needs to have the policy to allow a SQL Server client connect, SQL Server authentication, not Windows authentication. So that's one thing to keep in mind if you're using this for SQL, is that policy must be set. And essentially it's because we're not a Windows device. We don't have a domain, right? In the case of the cloud connectivity, I know part of it is, the TLS connection, but often there's also a certificate. And I think Quentin talked about that in the video. So we can support and do support the ability to have a certificate that resides in the module that facilitates the client authentication. So hopefully that answers the question. If not, we can always set up another session, a live session with Quentin, and go over this in detail with you.
Okay. Is there any support for Sparkplug-B format for MQTT?
So we have not, we do not support Sparkplug, and part of the reasoning behind that is because we support the store and forward natively. So it's a means that, the Sparkplug can, well, again, it probably does a lot more than I know, but I know one of the things it has the ability to handle is if there's disruptions in the service and the means to buffer and have, last will and testament things. We support the basic MQTT, and then we also have that store and forward capability, which eliminates a lot of the problems. But the short answer is no, we don't support Sparkplug. Okay.
And then the last one is tManager is accessed from a web page. Then I guess he's asking, with regard to, how you configure it. It's all just a web page.
Yeah, so it's actually, I think I answered this earlier, but it's actually a Windows application that we provide that is, has no license restrictions. It's not a web interface in the module. It's our own application. And there's a level, like Quentin didn't go over, all of the options up front for setting it up, but one of the key ones is setting up security within our software, and everything is TLS encrypted over the Ethernet cable, and when configuring the module, and there's credentials that would be username and password reliant, to make sure that there's no hacking of the tManager. And there's also a full audit log of everything that's ever been done to the module is recorded and time stamped, including when users connect and disconnect, and that information, we do have a number of pharmaceuticals at Pfizer listed earlier that use tManager and validated systems. Some of the food safety requirements and pharma requirements, FDA regulatory information. So we meet all those requirements.
Okay. Well, thank you, Jim. I appreciate you taking the time out to hold this webinar for us. Jim Wilson is a local resource that we have in our area. So if you do want to set up an appointment, please contact, myself, or your outside salesperson. We'd be very happy to set up another session to go over in more detail of your applications as well.
Yeah, thank you, buddy. And just to reiterate that, we do live, host live meetings with customers every day on tManager, and we can really show it and streamline it to, show the application that you need it for or your customer wants it for. We also have a really nice YouTube channel that has a whole number of recorded videos. The portion of what I played today is on there, as well as more in-depth how-tos. And then here's my contact information and also Quentin's. And then finally, you can follow us on LinkedIn, and we do put out information about applications and customers, customer projects, and product updates there as well. So thank you, buddy. Thank you, Jim Walker, for your support, and appreciate everyone's attendance today.
Thank you, Jim.
Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.